Hello, everybody. I'm Yvonne.
And I'm Steph Renee.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about
How years of inherited body image beliefs have affected us, even as grown ass women, and what we can do to
rewrite those beliefs and love our bodies forevermore. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Self Care Audio Files with me, Yvonne. Our mind, body, and spirit need to be healthy in order for us to thrive. In our changing world, this has never been more important. The Self-Care Audio Files is the place to come for real stories, powerful self-care practices, and anything that will help you cope in today's crazy world.
I've always loved Dove commercials because they've always really focused on like women and then like mothers and daughters connections or whatever. And they had this one commercial where they took mothers and they asked the moms like, what do you hate most about your body? And so the moms were like, oh, my thighs are too big. Oh, like this about my chest, or like, like whatever it was. And then they brought in their daughters separate from their mothers, and their mothers were listening behind a screen, and the daughters would like mirror exactly what their mothers hated about their bodies. And we're talking about little girls whose bodies aren't even developed yet, who don't have big thighs, who don't have like any of these issues, but they watched their mothers and they absorbed that self-hatred and took it on for themselves. Watching my mom put makeup on, and like little girls want to watch their mom put makeup on. And then to hear herself talk out loud, just her ripping herself apart, and then going out in public with her. And I look very much like my mother. And then having people like, oh, you look so much like your mother. And it was like they were calling me ugly.
Yeah. Oh my God, hey.
I still remember the time when I was little, and I remember thinking, oh, my mom's so pretty. But I heard her say she's ugly so much that I was like, oh, we're ugly, like collectively. I was just the other day looking at my face and I'm like in the mirror, and I was picking apart like, oh my God, my jaw is so much like my mom's. All my lips, they're so tiny and thin. All my eyes are like sad little puppy dog eyes. They're so like, oh, I have such a long face, blah, blah. And it's something like you don't, because you've done it from a very young age, you don't even realize, oh, this is actually belongs to my mother. And that's a hard thing to untangle from, because you're like, but it feels so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like women really teach each other, like hand down, not just through generations, but in society, like what our bodies look like or what we should look like and what is bad and what is good, based on our own beliefs and what was passed down to us. And we've been keeping ourselves locked in this system. And I'm not just talking about social media and whatever, I'm talking about like everyday interactions with women. I remember working at a gym, and one lady was like, oh, your face is so long, just randomly. And I didn't know I had a long face until that woman told me. I didn't know that that was a bad thing. I remember before jumpsuits were popular, I wore one to my sister-in-law's wedding shower. I walked in to the room that was packed already, and everyone stopped talking and looked at me and looked me up and down, and not a single person said you look good. They just gave me that look. And I really had to breathe through that situation, because it was so like, I'm literally being judged by every single person here because I wore something different than them. And I really felt good about myself until I walked into this room, and I'm sitting with it, and I'm just like, oh my God, like all that inner stuff comes up, like, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm so ugly, like how could I wear something like this? And I just like sat there and observed how I felt and what I was saying to myself.
It's also perception. So we perceive people to judge us. I mean, every human being judges, but do we know what they're saying? If they're not saying it out loud, we don't. When you wear something different, like you are going to be looked at, you are going to be assessed and judged, of course, but we don't
Yeah.
know what the judgment is. Maybe like, oh my God, I wish I could look as trendy as that person, or
Mhm.
I never thought of wearing something like that, or whoa, where did she come from? So we don't know what the actual judgments are. How do we perceive each other? So like you mentioned, that lady at the gym said you have a long face,
Mhm.
which is interesting because you said I never knew I had a long face. Well, you didn't. I look at you now, I don't see a long face. Her perception was you had a long face for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
But then we take that on as truth. I think I was like 15 or something like that. I was in high school. Like I had bigger boobs, and I wore, I think, a t-shirt or a tank top without a bra around my house. And I was hanging out with my sister, and my sister said, your boobs make me feel uncomfortable. And in that moment, I was like, my boobs make people feel uncomfortable. I need to package them up in a bra. I need to make sure they're not sagging and bouncing all over the place. So in that moment, I was like, my breasts equals discomfort to other people. Just by what that one sentence my sister said. Now, if she would have said, your hair makes me uncomfortable, I would have been like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how is my hair uncomfortable? Like, okay, I'll waddle it all over. Like, I wouldn't have been affected at all. But because she said, your boobs make me feel uncomfortable, I took that as truth. And pretty much until I was 30, I did not show my breasts to my partners. If I was like, if we were having sex, I would cover my chest, I would cover my boobs, I would cover it with one arm, I would cover it with two arms, I would cover it with a pillow. I would not show my breasts just because of that one comment, because I deemed them as like, oh, this is uncomfortable. But the reason why I took that on for my breasts is because my mom never liked her breasts. I grew up, and she always said her breasts were too tiny. I think I grew up because my breasts just looked different from what I was seeing on television, in magazines. Like they were, what I saw was perky, firm, perfect nipples, large nipples, like just the perfect areola. Is that what we call it? I think so, right? Just perfect. And knowing, okay, I don't look like that. My hair may have not looked blonde and long like I was seeing. Maybe my legs didn't look as long, but that didn't affect me. My mom's relationship with her legs were okay, but my mom's relationship with her breasts, it's only been the last years that I feel good about my breasts, and I can look in the mirror and be like, these are my breasts. And, they are, I feel odd saying it. I'm not at this level yet, but they are beautiful.
Yeah.
And, and my partner thinks they're beautiful, but it's like, I'm 36.
I have another story for you. There's so many stories. I bet you every woman has these stories. That is so sad, but true. So I was at a volleyball tournament, and I love dimples. I love dimples so much. And I was sitting in a chair with my short shorts on with my teammates, and I looked at my thighs and I saw that I had dimples all over my thighs. And I was like 13 years old. And I was like, guys, look, I have dimples over my thighs. They're so cute. I love them. Oh my God, this is so cool. I have dimples. And there was a woman sitting beside me, and she's like, that's cellulite, and that's not good.
Oh, isn't it insane? Isn't it insane?
Oh, switch just turned it, just poisoned it.
And if it wouldn't have been for that woman at that time, we know it would have happened at some point. At some point,
totally.
This belief that you had of, oh, look at these dimples, they're so cute, that changed to, this is cellulite, this is bad. What can I do to get rid of this?
Yeah, this is a problem I need to cure for.
Yeah. I think as mothers, and you and I are not mothers, we're both aunts, that we have a responsibility for the young ones. Like even with our relationship with food, there's that narrative like, oh well, I went for a walk today, so I'm gonna have this brownie, right? Like, oh, I did this, so I can have this. So otherwise, this brownie would not be acceptable. Like that is not good. So yeah, just being an aunt, if I eat anything, if I eat something that's not healthy, if I eat something that's healthy, I'm just eating. It's fuel, it's enjoyment. I like the taste.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so I think that's important that there's no narrative like with it. So with these beliefs we have about our faces and our bodies, how do we undo, 30 plus years of, this is an inherited belief that we're lacking or we're not pretty enough? Like, how do we heal that?
Awareness is number one. Just being aware that it's happening. Like for you with your breasts, do you feel like it was awareness first? That you were doing that you were covering them up?
Yeah, I definitely realized it was not normal. And I don't know if I can deem it that because it was normal to me, but it was not what other people did. And it was not what relationships looked like. So I knew there was something there. It was awareness that I hated my breasts. And then honestly, I have to say, social media has played a role in reversing like my belief, because now we do have more women on social channels, also on television, Netflix, but on all the social platforms, just posting more of themselves, unfiltered, natural, in all shapes and sizes. So I'm seeing my breasts on social media. Like I'm seeing my breasts out in the world and I'm like, oh, and this person's proud of them. Like this person's wearing that dress that I thought I could never wear. So seeing that and just seeing women celebrate their own bodies and each other's bodies, that's been really, really helpful. And I'm not, I don't believe for a second that the women that are posting these are celebrating as they post it. I still think it's probably challenging for a lot of those women to post it, but they're doing it for us, like we're doing it for each other. And also talking about that, showing up and being like, hey, this is hard, but I'm doing it. I'm showing up. And that oftentimes will motivate someone else, another woman, to be like, oh, okay, it's hard for her. Sometimes we don't think, like, I would have never, ever, ever in a million years thought you had any issues with your looks. Because the first time I saw you, I was like, wow, she's so pretty. Like we think these things about each other, right? Yeah. So I not for a million years did I think you struggled with that. So I think seeing women and hearing women say, this is really hard for me. That's like, oh, okay. Like she's just like me.
And I've been doing I'm going to butcher this, the Hawaiian technique. Ho'opono. Ho'oponopono. I just butchered it. Yes. Did you just say it?
I don't know. I don't know about it. I just repeated what you said.
So it's a technique where you say 4 statements. I am sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And this is something I'd say inside my head, or if I'm alone, I'll say out loud. But then I was reading a book and I was like, you're actually supposed to direct that to your inner self. So you're saying it to that inner child, like, I'm sorry for believing this story and for causing you so much pain. Forgive me for putting this burden on you for so long. Thank you for being here, bringing this up. Mm-hmm. Thank you for letting me realize this is still an issue for me. And then I love you. And so my goal right now is to look myself in the mirror every day and be like, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so emotional right now.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel that.
I was not expecting that.
Mhm.
But yeah, like it's so hard to look at yourself in the mirror. And I think it's also a trust thing. Like, can I trust who I see in the mirror
Mhm.
as what I actually see?
Yeah.
And is it a big deal if I love myself and love the way I look? Like, can I just do it for myself? Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna sit here for a bit,
Mhm.
drink
Yeah.
some water.
Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being vulnerable and real. And I feel that, like, I felt every word, because yeah, I think women can really identify with that. I don't think there's many women that don't feel that way when they look in the mirror and they pick themselves apart.
I want to love my face. I want to appreciate myself as an individual. When I notice like I'm judging my legs or I'm judging my face or I'm feeling bad about my body or I just don't want to be seen, I'm going to use that technique and I'll let you know how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that it's like the beginning for me on this new technique, because I feel like it's really, for me, it's not just acknowledging that I have the issue, it's acknowledging the pain that I've caused, or it's acknowledging what I've missed out in life, you know, and what I feel like I'm not good enough for. It's like all bundled up and just saying, I am so sorry. I've been doing this for such a long time. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. I'm saying that, you know what? This was the first summer I consistently wore like short jean shorts. Like, I didn't have my ass cheeks hanging out, but they were short. And this was the first summer in 36 years that I regularly wore jeans, and I wasn't thinking about it. I was just wearing them, and that's what I wanted. And it happened this year. I didn't even notice. It just happened. I also, for the first time this year, wore a tank top without a bra in public.
That's awesome to go braless in public. Why is that so freaking hard for me? I'll work on this. I'll work with this technique, and we'll see where I am next summer.
Exactly. To take us out today, I'm going to read a poem by Marilyn Nelson. It's called A Strange, Beautiful Woman. A strange, beautiful woman met me in the mirror the other night. Hey, I said, what you doing here? She asked me the same thing.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
I love it. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We will see you next time. If you enjoyed today's episodes, you can find more episodes on my website, lifecoachyvonne.com/podcast.